You know, everyone, when I started this project, I never imagined that I would be able to complete as many interviews as I did over the last week. I was so floored by the amount of awesome things that have happened over the course of these interviews. I want to show them all in their entirety, but it's going to be a really crazy long show. So I'm going to split this up into two parts and at least maybe three, depending on how many more we can record. But I just want this video to be a testament to the power of the wrestling card community. It was just such a rewarding experience to be able to talk to so many people rapid fire over the last week. And it's awesome to see how many highlights exist for 2023. I think it's safe to say that 2023 was probably the biggest year of wrestling cards ever. And that is pretty crazy when you consider how 2022 was as well. But I want you to take a look here. We have so many awesome people that I talked to. I want to give them their opportunity to say all of the amazing things that they thought happened to wrestling cards in 2023. We've got new faces, we've got old faces, we've got people that come from all different walks of wrestling cards. You name it, we've got somebody covering it, and it's so awesome to be able to have this on film. And I hope that this will be something that we can continue year after year, because I definitely believe that 2024 will be just as big. There's a lot of common threads that run through here because the wrestling card community came together like no other community in the hobby this year. And you can imagine that a lot of these people are so excited as I am to be able to share with you about their highlights for the year. Take a look here, watch as much as you can, come back in pieces. It's so much fun to be able to see how people are approaching their last year and what they're looking forward to this year. There's also a few fun wild card questions I threw in for everybody as well, so make sure to look there. But stay tuned for part two. That'll be coming later this week, and I can't be more excited to share all of this with you. So I am here with Ryan Bannister, owner, proprietor of RBI Crew 7 Sports Cards, huge wrestling collector. Ryan, how you doing, sir? Where can they find you on social media and everything? Tell them a little bit about your store and where they can find that as well.
Great, Adam. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to do this. Glad we could squeeze this in this week. It definitely would be a nice little way to clear my head. So basically, we're RBI Crew Sevens, the business that I own. We opened our shop 12 years ago. We're in St. Peters, Missouri. You can find us at rbicrew7.com. You can all follow us on social media at RBI Crew 7, RBICRU 7. I'm sure Adam will put those name and stuff somewhere.
We'll
But
put it all
yes,
in there, yeah.
yeah. But no, I'm excited to be here. For the record, this is not my office. This is Adam's office. That is Jason Tatum dunking on LeBron, and I'm a big LeBron guy. So that is not mine back there. I just did it from here because we got the shop busy today with the Brady Chase, a Bowman draft, and I just got people working in the back as well. So I was like, I'm just going to come down to his office while he's not here today. But for the record, LeBron's better than Jason Tatum by a long shot. So
Oh wow, hot
yeah,
takes dropping by the minute. I love it.
yes.
So Ryan, you've had a huge 2023. I don't know if there's been anybody that's had as big of a 2023 as you have, with all the things that you've done in your store, but also getting really deep into wrestling cards. Again, you've been a collector for a while, but 2023 was kind of your coming out party. What was the moment of the year for you? Like, as somebody who has experienced this both from a store ownership perspective, you're on the retail side of this, but you're also a collector. Your son's into it. Love seeing
Yep.
him light up when he gets new Bray Wyatt cards, and like it's so awesome. Tell me about your moment of the year.
Well, basically, like you said, I've been a wrestling fan since the late '80s. I've watched it basically for what are we 30 something years now, showing my age. So obviously, and I've collected throughout the years, very quietly, never nothing or ever like full force. But as my oldest son Parker, as you mentioned, really got into watching wrestling about 3 or 4 years ago, and started really enjoying ripping the cards, getting into it. Obviously, you mentioned Bray Wyatt. Unfortunately, that was one thing I'll touch on too, because that hit me hard as much as it hit him. But
Yeah,
so basically, as he got into it more, I'm like, well, if he's collecting Bray Wyatt, I need to, start collecting my two guys, which are Randy Orton and Seth Rollins. And it's kind of just spawned from there with Prism, with Panini taking over. They've done a phenomenal job with the WWE. Don't get me wrong, I do love things the Tops did, and we know we're going to get that back as well. So my collection does go both Tops and Panini for wrestling cards. but really got into it. Loved like the blacks, the Prism 101s. Been chasing a lot of those down for our three guys, and that's been a lot of fun. But as you mentioned, big thing in 2023, and Adam knows this, and a handful of people know this, and I'll make this public now on here. And Adam, I said I was going to say this because he gave me. I said, "What do you mean by that?" And he gave me some suggestions, like main event or The Rock. So the Rock Black 101 from 2022 Prism WWE, we're discussing that went for a 126K. People are like, "That's not real. That's not real. That's not real." It's real because I was the second bidder on it. I was bidding up, and I was texting Adam that night. We were going back and forth. I was texting with some friends at PWCC as well. It got to the point where I thought at one point I was going to win it in like the 50s, and then it just kept going. And at one point I was like, I think I'm going to get it. Then he bid again. And it got to the point where I realized no matter where we're going to go with this, whoever's bidding against me is going to pay whatever it takes. Cause you were telling me that, and somebody else kind of gave me the hint of that. And it also came down to it, I was tired. So I wanted to go to bed. I don't want to keep going.
Right, exactly.
So I had full intention to buy that card. I think that is just such an iconic, will go down as one of the greatest rock cards ever. We may not have a 30-year Prism yet, so we're only looking at two for sure right now. Such an iconic, laying the smackdown on Stone Cold on that one. So the rock bottom on that one. So, but that was big because again, I thought that really got the word out there for wrestling cards that, it showed that people were
Yeah,
willing to spend
exactly.
money in wrestling. But on top of it, again, everybody's saying there's no way that was real. Well, I'm publicly saying I had full intention to buy that card for whatever my last bid was. And then obviously I lost, but it went to a good home from my understanding, and that's what matters. The wrestling collectors really show the true passion. And I think out of all the sports and non-sports, everything I dabble in, I will say I have amazing respect for wrestling collectors because they always look out for one another. I mean, you sent me the Orton
Amen.
Super yesterday. You were the first one out of like 8 people yesterday that sent that to me.
Right,
So,
exactly.
but you were the first one, so again, that is what I love about the wrestling community is that they're all looking out for one another, And I'm not saying you're not getting that in the other sports, but I feel like other sports is more about money, 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 and it's not about let's make sure it gets in the hands of the true collector. And that's what I'm grateful about diving into the wrestling community more is because it's really helped propelled me track down Orton's, Rollins, and Brace for my son. So
Yeah, and you have an incredible collection. If you come to the National, he's got a lot of it on display up for sale at the
thank you.
table. I'm sure you're going to be coming again. We'll do the main event again. You're going to be one of the
Yep.
primary sponsors for that
Right.
this year. Really excited about that. So, given how big of a 2023 you've had, what are your collecting hobby goals in wrestling cards for 2024? Tell me about your plans for the coming year here.
Well, thank you again for bringing us on for main event. We're excited to be one of the main sponsors on that. We're all full fledged, and we're going to make it bigger and better this year now that we can, say we're more a part of it. And that's what's awesome. So I can't wait for that. Excited. I know you're already diving into the national looking in
We
Cleveland,
are,
which is
yeah.
great. So obviously, I'm going to continue to really look for the rare of those three guys that my son and I collect. And I asked him, and I was going to touch on this on the 23 moment, when Bray had passed, and I found out I was unfortunately in Seattle at the Topps Transcendent party, and I hate to say like unfortunate, but I wasn't home for my son, so I couldn't
Yeah.
break the news until him. This was a Thursday, I think the news came out, and I did not break the news to him until Sunday. I got home Saturday. I just had to find the moment, and that was hard because that one touched me at
Yeah.
home because of how much my son loved Bray and he teared up, and it's a guy he never met. The closest he ever got was Kevin sent him a video of Bray Wyatt saying, hey, Parker,
Oh,
thanks for
that's so
being a
cool.
fan. And my hope was that eventually he was going to go see Bray wrestle. We could maybe find a way to meet him somehow. Didn't happen, but that one hit me hard because how much he meant to my son. And I asked my son, down the road, are you still going to collect Bray? He said, absolutely, I'm going to collect Bray. I'm going
That's
to always
awesome.
collect Bray. And what my favorite part about all that, not to get off subject, was the amount of amazing things I heard about Bray Wyatt come out following his death from every which
Yeah, it
avenue,
was incredible. Yeah.
and that made me so happy to know that my son collected him. So we're going to continue looking for rare 101 Bray Wyatt's, not really printing plates, but obviously, in a nutshell, we're looking for the rare stuff of those three. So in 24, still after stuff, we should get more Panini WWE products to into 2024, maybe into spring or summer. We're hoping that all gets back on board. So we'll be out after that stuff. And who knows if there is going to be a 24 products. We don't know the future holds right now. So again, it'll be our focus to track down the rare ones of those three wrestlers, as well as whatever happens in wrestling in 24, may it be one company or another, will be still after those. That's going to continue to be our focus.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, that's such a great story about your son, and really happy that he's getting into it as well, following along with everything. The videos that you post of him are just awesome. I love seeing that. So
Yeah,
here's the
thank you.
wild card question. Here's the wild card question for you. Randy Orton is your guy. He's St. Louis.
Mhm.
You're a St. Louis guy. He just came back. What is your dream WrestleMania 40 scenario for Randy leading into the road to WrestleMania, which is about to kick off here in January? Where do you want to see Randy end up here in WrestleMania 40? Who is he facing?
It's still up there. Obviously, they're setting up for Roman right now. Me personally, I know he's getting older, and I want to see him get one more world championship. I want to see him get to number 15. Matt Cena, who I know they're really close friends, I think that's deserving of everything that Orton's career has been. So I know, we don't know what's going to be. Is it going to be Roman Rock, Roman, Cody Rhodes? Obviously, we know Rollins and Punk is after last night was
Yeah,
awesome.
gosh, wow.
This is going to be
Incredible.
a long drawn out thing, and it's going to have so much built up. I'm excited for that. But not to get off subject, I don't really know who I want to see Orton face. I want him to have his WrestleMania moment, because who knows how many more years he's going to be able to do this. But I just want to see, when it's all said and done, he gets the belt one more time. I'm not asking him to get to Flair. I just want to see him get to Cena
Yeah.
and match them,
Yeah.
and they both could just ride all together and still let Flair be one of the greatest of all time. And I know Flair's publicly said, if anybody he wants to see Cena or Orton do that. We're not going to see Cena do that. I mean, that's not
Or his
possible. But
daughter. His daughter ain't that far
yeah,
away either.
yeah, I know. It's crazy. So, but at the end of the day, I love to see him, no matter who he faces or when it happens. I just want to see before the end of his career that he gets the belt one more time. But as far as who he faces, I mean, I don't really know, man. I know it's going to be somebody that I hope they're not just trying to put somebody else over. I feel like Orton's had a long road to
Yeah.
get back. He was told, medically probably couldn't wrestle again. I mean, he's in the best shape of his life. Unreal. He looks
He
like a
looks
machine
just
out there.
ripped. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
But no, I'm excited he's back. It's been a long time coming. I'm glad that they're moved off the whole Riddle, RK Bro thing. I'm glad they didn't have to come into that back. I'm glad he could just come back
Yeah.
in and be the Viper himself. So, and Daddy.
That'll be
So,
fun. Yeah, that'll be fun. I hope he has a great match. Like Morton already has like so many awesome sort of memories, like with the RKO that Seth versus him and Seth when your two
yep,
boys are fighting in the ring.
yep,
But yeah, I hope he gets another run. I mean, like he came back, and it's unfortunate that he's been sort of like thrust into like this Roman Reigns like massive title run that everybody
yep.
is like, okay, when's this gonna end? But I think like he is one of those guys that should be around and really competing at the top level, hopefully
He
for a
should,
while now.
100%,
Yeah, so
100%.
I think he'll get his reign. Hopefully he will. Great talking to you. Hope best of luck
Yep.
in 24. Hope you guys pull some Brady's out
Thank
of
you.
the new Bowman product. I know everybody's chasing
Hope
them
our
right now.
customers do. I know they're searching for it. So,
Yeah, absolutely. All right, man. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks again for everything this year. It's been wonderful. I'm glad you can make it work. I know how busy you are, so thanks again. We'll talk soon.
you're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
I am here with Jamison Long, famed Roman Reigns high-end collector. Exquisite Sports Collectibles has one of the most insane collections online. If you haven't checked him out on Instagram, make sure you do. And he also, in 2023, opened a collectible shop. And I mean, everything's coming up Jamison this year, right?
Yeah, it's been a good year. It's been fun. It's been not it's been met with its own challenges and stuff. Obviously, when you're running a store, it just adds a whole bunch of other dynamics. But for the most part, I feel pretty fortunate to be able to do this as my day job, day to day. It's a lot of fun. So
Yeah, and you're probably one of my favorite people to get on these videos because you always have such a unique perspective. Today, we're going to focus on 2023 as a whole.
yeah.
If you had to go back and take a look at your favorite moment from a wrestling card perspective, because I know how much you extend into the other sports as well. From a wrestling card perspective, what would you tag as your highlight of the year? It can be personal, hobby wide, whatever you feel you can do both. And then just curious to hear what you've got cooking here.
I just think it was cool to see I think the resiliency of the wrestling card market, because I think coming off the heels of the kind of meteoric rise of 2022 Prism and then the meteoric crash of 2022
Right.
Prism, I think it got wrestling cards and like other kind of, I would say, more niche products, wrestling cards, Marvel cards, whatever kind of cards that are kind of on that fringe where you kind of got some kind of super hyperbolic moves from like non-traditional collectors in those arenas to kind of really inflate prices, and then you saw sudden crashes in those arenas. You did see, I think, you kind of saw the capitulations, but then you saw, I think, slowly, brick by brick, you've kind of seen a nice little rebound in especially the wrestling card segment. And I think while you did have people come in and leave, I think there is some people that also came in and stayed, and then it also helped to add to maybe some of the more mainstream appeal. I think especially in like the higher end realm of the wrestling card market.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll ever see what happened in 22 Prism. And for the most part, I kind of hope we don't, because that's kind of unhealthy. But I think this incremental rebound we're seeing, I think is overall has me bullish, not to mention, I think just the overall sentiment within wrestling, especially, I mean, let's face it, WWE pushes and pulls all strings of the market. When they're in these hot periods like they are in now, I think it just helps add to the desire and the demand for these cards.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think you hit it on the head in a lot of ways. I mean, we've seen all the tracking mechanisms for the hobby start to trend down, but as we saw at the National this summer, and as we've seen through some of the tracking mechanisms that are around for wrestling cards, like there's still a ton of interest, even though the VIP area, as I've said on a couple of these, has maybe gotten a little less VIP. The middle of this hobby really is as strong as ever, and there's so much activity. And I think for wrestling cards, you nailed it. It's like there's so many people that have come in and become a part of this community, even though some of the individuals who came with Prism may have left. There's a lot of those who stayed and have really become primary spenders or even voices within the community to be able to support that.
Absolutely. I think the cool thing about wrestling too is like for me per se, and I'm starting to see this, I think, with a lot of people. Like a lot of collections are very focused. Like I feel like in other sports, you get more of a broad range of like dibbling and dabbling in that. But like, because I do other sports, when I got into wrestling, there is some stuff outside of just my Roman Reigns PC that I do keep, because I'm like, man, this card is really cool. I just like it. I'm going to hold on to it. But I don't necessarily always target those cards, but in the right situation, there is cards that I've gotten and I put away that I really like. But I am like, I have a very small niche that I focus on, which makes it very palatable for me. I want Roman Reigns 1-on-1 cards as the tribal chief. That's like my niche, and that's what I target. But the cool thing about it is,
because of that, you've become incredibly successful in gathering those cards. Yeah.
Right. And for what I consider like my wrestling card, like fun budget, like it's fixed for that. So if I have to overpay to get one, I'm okay with that because it's all I'm focusing on. Or I don't even think it's overpaying, but if I would, some people, especially like I think more traditional wrestling collectors, would be like, oh, why would you pay that much for that? But
it's a common refrain. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So
and that's a good point. I think the great part about this community is that they support almost anybody chasing their focus, right? So like you see people tossing cards over the fence, like, hey, you should look at this, here you should look at this. And I just didn't see that as much in the other sports. I mean, I'm sure it happens. I'm sure you've got like, the one guy who collects this one player and people go to him or her. But I think in wrestling, it's like everybody is that person for their individual collection. So you're right. You've had your store open. You've had a bunch of stuff in 23 that went down. That was just awesome to hear about. What are you looking forward to in 24? What are your collecting goals for 24?
Well, hopefully what I'm looking forward to, I think would be good is for wrestling space is just some clarity
Yeah,
of what's going to happen moving
I think we're
forward.
all there. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it's like, it's kind of feels like it kind of feels like we have two half companies working instead of one full company. It's scary. I think it puts some reservation on Panini products, especially ones if they're heavily redemption filled. What is the willingness of these WWE athletes? I mean, I think like when I look, like I love the innovation that Panini has brought, I think, to the wrestling card space and some of the quality of cards.
Yeah.
But you do kind of feel this tension with Panini and WWE of they don't seem to have that direct working relationship with the wrestlers that maybe they do with some of the other sports where they go directly to the athletes. It feels like WWE middleman's a lot of that stuff for them.
Yes. Yeah.
So if there's some natural tension there, you just wonder how successful they're going to be in getting these kind of this stuff fulfilled. Me and you've talked many times about some of the, I have a few big Roman Reigns redemptions that I really want, but I'm like, at this point, I'm kind of like, I'm expecting not to get them signed, and I'll be happy if I do get
I
them
hope that
signed.
doesn't happen. Yeah.
So, and just from what I've seen on Fanatic side, we'll see what they have to offer from a product perspective. I think we all know Topps Chrome coming back would be awesome. We do know Topps puts out some nice products. We'll see what they do on the WWE side. But one thing I've seen from Fanatics, in some of the other sports is like, it seems like their relationship with the athletes is better than anybody else.
Absolutely.
So like, could we get, I think with Fanatics coming in play, we probably have a better chance of getting a The Rock mainstream card than we've ever had before. I love what Leaf is doing. That's awesome that they got that deal. But I think like if we were ever to see like an on-card auto of Rock, they would probably be the team that made it happen. I think you see like the relationship with Tom Brady and just some of the ways they're bringing these athletes really into this trading card space. I could definitely see them doing that on the WWE side as well.
Yeah, I was talking about that with a few people on these videos. I like everybody is hurting for this Logan Paul or Bad Bunny or whoever type of card to come out, and we see what Topps has done with Tom Brady recently. We've seen some of the elements that Fanatics has brought to the table that just Michael Rubin's relationship with these guys tends to drive a really unique experience for collectors. So that kind of brings me to my wild card question here. It's like we saw The Undertaker and Quinn Evers have a card released through Panini Instant. You're a big sports guy in addition to a wrestling guy. Outside of that card, the Undertaker card, what is another athlete wrestler combo that you would love to see sort of take shape in over the next couple of years, either as Panini or Topps sort of takes the banner here?
And that's like not counting like Logan Paul or Bad Bunny, like taking them out of the equation.
Let's take them out of the equation because I think they're easy. I'm going to make this harder for you.
That's a good question. Trying to think of some of the athletes that are like wrestling fans. There are a few out there. Man.
If you think about like what George Kittle has done and like all those.
Yeah, I was thinking about George Kittle. I mean, it'd be cool, and a lot of it depends on probably what would happen. But how about like a Snoop Dogg Sasha Banks dual auto if she ever came?
Yes, exactly.
I'm just trying to think about. Cool. I'm thinking about like people that have actually had a moment together.
Right?
Because I think that's. I mean, I think when we talk about wrestling. And this is always a big debate. Like, yeah, the 5-star matches, but who remembers those, and who remembers when CM Punk walks out at the end of Survivor Series? You know what I mean? Wrestling's built on moments. It always has and always will be. You know what I mean? Nobody goes back and watches when Hogan pinned Andre the Giant. They watch when he slammed Andre the Giant because that was a big moment. You know what I mean? It's right. So wrestling is built a moment. So I think whenever you can like tie together two athletes, two wrestlers or something back to a moment in time that was really special, I think those make the best cards and things of that nature.
No disagreement here from me. I think there's so much opportunity because WWE does such a good job of sort of
Yeah.
bridging pop culture and wrestling together. So yeah, I hear what you're saying for sure. And listen, this is so you're talking to somebody who lives more for the entrances and like
Oh,
the
sure.
celebrations more than the actual
Yeah.
matches. So really happy that you were able to make this work. Thank you so much
Yeah,
for
man.
hopping on. I wish you the best in 24. Tell everybody where they can find your store and where you are on social media just so that they can stop on by if they're in your area.
Yeah, appreciate it. So we are located in Wilmington, North Carolina. So we're at 4113 Oleander Drive in Wilmington, North Carolina. And then our socials is Port City Sports Collectibles on Instagram. That's where we do a lot of our stuff. We're the same on Facebook, but usually that's just pushing out whatever we put on Instagram. Then we also go on Whatnot from time to time on Port City Sports Collectibles. And then recently we've gotten really active on TikTok, doing a lot of breaks and
Oh
stuff.
wow.
So it is Port City Sports Collectibles or at PC Sports Collectibles at PC Sports Collectibles. So if you're into breaking or anything, give us a look on there.
Make a pilgrimage to a store. I'm planning on doing it at some point here because I've heard how awesome it looks. So I can't wait to stop by. Thanks for coming on, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, thanks, Adam.
So I'm here with Kevin Kulikowski. He is, as you can see, live from New York Roadshow, and one of the founding members of our main event planning committee. So really excited to have him on. Kevin, how you doing, man? Tell them where they can find you on social media and where your store is located.
Yeah, of course. So our shop is located in Bronxville, which is in Westchester, New York. So if you're ever around, it's like a half hour outside of Manhattan. Easy on the train, so nice and convenient to get to. But on social, I am most active on Instagram, New York Roadshow, and I try to do Twitter, but I'm not, or X, I should say, but I'm not very good at it. So admittedly,
all good.
I'm on there, but I don't use it as often.
And I wanted to have as many people on here to talk about what their highlights were from this past year. I know you've had a wonderful year with New York Roadshow, including a bunch of things that you guys have managed to string together as part of your shop and part of your presence with Roadshow cards. Tell me, if you had to look back on 2023 and pick out kind of that one thing that stands out to you, what would that look like?
So as what we're talking as far as wrestling goes, right? That's
wrestling cards, yes.
All right. So
as much as I'm sure you've had some amazing moments from sports cards, for the sake of the audience.
I know, no, I definitely. So I'm sure, I know you've spoken to a lot of people, and I know a lot of people are going to say the main event, the trade night, was the highlight, and I agree. But I am going to give you something else.
Thank you. That would be good.
Why? And so for me, I think the biggest moment in 2023 was the release of WWE Immaculate. And the reason why I feel that the release of WWE Immaculate was so important for wrestling cards is it really elevated to the next level of like a high-end collecting, right? And now Impeccable had come before and it had started that. But Immaculate, in my opinion, is when WWE and their relationship with Panini like just blew the doors off of what high wrestling could look like with the WWE logo shields. We'll call them the logo man. I don't know what we're commonly referring to them now, but like that.
We got to come up with a name for it.
Right. It needs something. But between that, the multi-autos, and just Panini then taking wrestling to an unprecedented level with the Bloodline booklet, which I've talked about before. But like
so awesome.
That was basically for me, Panini saying, hey, wrestling cards don't have to be these cheap cards. They don't have to be, there is a place in the hobby for a higher end wrestling card and a higher end wrestling release. And I say higher end comparatively to other wrestling versus, the price point of Immaculate still is very affordable, and people should be buying it all up if you can find it. But like, yes, compared to obviously basketball, football, it's significantly cheaper. But in the sphere of wrestling, to have a product released at that price point, which is higher than wrestling collectors are used to, and seeing how well it did, I think that was Panini testing the waters on a higher market and succeeding on that front.
Yeah, I completely agree, man. Like Immaculate was probably one of the best, well-constructed wrestling card products of all time. It's funny because, Select was also insanely well done as well. It's just, they're two different target markets and a lot of reasons for why somebody who loves Select can also love Immaculate, but they're really like two separate releases targeting two different types of people, but both were incredibly successful. I just absolutely went nuts on Immaculate. Like, it was so cool. I can't agree with you more. The auto logos, whatever we'll end up calling them,
Yeah.
like I made it a point to get mine. I think a lot of the player collectors out there are doing the same thing. I know you chased the hell out of that Bloodline booklet. I think you finally got one, so I'm happy to hear that.
I went 0 for like 23 on Bloodline spots and breaks before finally just caving and purchasing the booklet. I think there's like 2 on eBay right now, and they're both listed at significantly more than I paid. So like I did make the right choice eventually.
There you go. That's how you justify it to yourself.
Caving and buying it. And the timing is funny. I actually was talking to somebody yesterday being like, should I try and buy those other 2? Just because there was 25 of them, there were no parallels, and the well is really dry on that card. And I wonder from a long-term standpoint, right? Like, how monumental of a wrestling card, or how much of a key wrestling card will that be?
Given the importance to WWE storyline during this era, I mean, like, it cannot be understated, like, how insane it was for Panini to put out that card. And I hope it's like, and I was talking with a couple of other people over the course of these videos. I hope it's not the last. And I hope it's not the last version of Immaculate we get. Hopefully we get at least one more. I think there's still some stuff up in the air on whether that happens, but where do they, like, how do they replicate a card like that in some other format? I mean, it's so rare that you have like this generation spanning card that you could create. There's obviously ways you could do it, but Immaculate is such an awesome set. And I think you mentioned kind of like looking forward and trying to figure out, hey, do I go after those? What are some of the collecting goals that you have for 2024, knowing that you've put such a huge focus on building your wrestling collection up over the last year, being a part of this amazing community? So, like, curious what your goals look like for 2024 heading into the next year.
Yeah, so I have 3 main goals that I've identified. The first one is I was working on and completed an ungraded version of the 2022 Prism Color Blast set. And I was slowly sending them off to Beckett one at a time. And at one point, my goal was BGS 9.5s or better. And at one point, I was 7 for 7. And there's only 10 cards in the checklist. So we're like, this is great.
You're there. You're getting there.
I sent 2 cards in, which were number 8 and number 9. And they both came back 9s. And Alexa Bliss and Sasha Banks. And so my goal for 2024 is to acquire a BGS 9.5 or better of those 2 cards to complete that set, because then the 10th card got a 9.5. So now I'm currently at 8 of the 10 in a 9.5.
That's awesome.
Just have those 2 to look for. So that's number 1 for me. The other one is something that I have 0 control over whatsoever. But I have a Triple H 1 of 1 White Sparkle auto redemption in the system with Panini. And I'm very scared about what the future looks like for that. So hoping that card gets fulfilled. I had been told that at the time of this recording, they don't have any Triple H autographs on hand, so they can't sticker one up.
Produce the card,
he would need to return something. So that's goal number 2, which I have no control over. And then the other,
you heard it here, Triple H, because I know you watch our videos all the
Triple
time.
H, sign a sticker, even if it's just one. Like, I'm gonna bind you with one single sticker. And then the last collecting goal that I have, and I know we deal with a predominantly WWE crowd, but one set that I really enjoyed last year, and a subset particularly, was the PMGs from AEW. And I was able to get one of it. I got Matt Jackson. So like super excited about that. I know you're a big Young Bucks fan, so perfect.
Love them. Love
But
them.
no, my goal is to get another one of one PMG, and I don't even necessarily care who it is, as long as the price is right. Just because I think if you look back, and if AEW continues to be a company that is, spoken about in the same breath as WWE and wrestling and the importance. If you look at what PMGs have done for sports cards over the years, especially the old ones,
Huge.
I think that it's going to be a sleeper set. And so being able to land a one of a first year PMG, that's another goal that I'm going to have going into 2024.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think I mean, like, I'm not a fan of PMGs. I don't like anything from the late 90s. I'm just one of those weird people that everybody hates about that stuff. I definitely am not a fan of the Young Bucks, but I definitely have an understanding of how many people have chased those cards and how important they are overall. I think it's really interesting to look at sort of the grand scheme of things. And that kind of brings me to this wild card question, which is, you do a ton of work
Yeah,
outside of WWE.
My notes are now outside, are out the
Well,
window.
that's the whole point of these questions, is to put these people on the spot so you can't think about it. So you do a lot of stuff in general sports cards, mainstream hobby. I know you're one of the primary individuals responsible for the big trade night of the National.
Yeah.
But if you had to look at all of the major sports that are out there and you could pick one set to bring to WWE, no matter which company produces it, which is that set that you want to see be made in wrestling cards if it hasn't already?
That is a wonderful question, and I already immediately have an answer for you, and it
Awesome.
is going to be, because I've discussed this before. Like, I am a wrestling mark nerd, whatever you want to call it, through and through. Like, all the time. And the cool thing is, by me being so public with my enjoyment and love of wrestling, people have found my shop who also love wrestling, right? And I have
Nice.
guys coming, every week, every other week, and it's just, chat about wrestling. There hasn't been any new products lately to rip, but even just the conversation about storylines and what's going on and forecasting towards the future. So I do have an answer prepared for this, and it is 100% without a doubt. I'd like to see Topps Dynasty come.
We're on the same page. We are on the same page.
There we go. And the one thing that scares me, if you look at it from a logistics standpoint, is Topps Dynasty is a very premium product. It is usually in the $600 to $800 range for one card. And
Yeah.
I guess figuring out how Topps would find a price point to make that make sense, where it doesn't then just become what Fully Loaded was. And Fully Loaded was fun, but Fully Loaded never had that premium feel. And that's what I love about Dynasty is a premium product. You can showcase so many specific, tie a match, a shirt to a specific match or whatever, right? Like, so I think that if they did that product and got the price point right, it would be the greatest wrestling product ever created. I do.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you on that. I've said on a number of these videos how much I want to see Topps Dynasty Wrestling. I mean, I saw what they did in F1 with it. I've seen what they've done in baseball with it. And it's the best looking premium product that Topps makes, outside of Transcendent, which I think, we've already seen in wrestling. We've seen how that sort of performs in some of the amazing cards that have come out of that set.
Right.
But it's like the Dynasty brand has become such a cornerstone of what Topps does in high end and super premium products. And I just absolutely love. I've never gotten it in football. I've never gotten it in basketball. I've just seen it in baseball. And when I was still collecting baseball cards back in the day, like, I automatically had to get a Dynasty autograph of my favorite players because they were just such cool cards. So agree with you there. Absolutely. Yeah. So thank you so much for hopping on. I just wanted to do some quick hits with you and tell them, again, have a great, wonderful 2024. I hope it breeds the same amount of success. I'm sure we'll see you over the summer and everything as usual. So I know that's that sequel is coming, and can't wait to see how all this shapes up.
Of course, and also just, thank you, because you're one of the the vocal leaders at the forefront of wrestling cards, whether the good, the bad, the different, whatever it is. And so, you know, appreciate the work that you're putting in. And, you know, it's really cool to have a nice group of guys and girls who are at the forefront of, like, you know, combining their passion for wrestling, passion for cards, and sort of, you know, the wrestling space has unequivocally exploded in the card market, you know, recently. And I can't help but think that names far more popular than myself, but like, you know, you guys and RBI crew and Drake and the folks who are really, you know, advocating for wrestling cards on a daily basis, like it's partially because of the work that everybody's putting in. So appreciate you and everything that you're doing.
Thank
as
you.
well.
No, I appreciate it. That's thank you for the kind words. I think we're just, as we've always said, like, this is our goal, is to get more eyes and ears on the wrestling card market. I think if you've watched to this point in the video and past this point, you'll see how many people talk about the main event, but also talk about the sale of the rock card. And you know, it's been a crazy couple of years for wrestling cards ever since the Panini announcement. So really excited to see what's happening in 2024.
Yeah.
Thank you so much again. Sorry to pull you away from the store, but I appreciate you hopping on, and we'll talk soon. What's going on, everyone? I have David Wright here with me, and I can't be more excited because this is one of those individuals I got to meet this summer for the first. I don't know. We hadn't met before this summer at the national convention. I know we've been talking for years.
Virtually, yes, but yes, face to face, no.
It's kind of weird how that all works out, but I'm really glad to have him on. David, tell them where they can find you on social media and all your Linktree stuff, if you want.
Yeah, for sure. No, they can find me. I've managed to have the same handle on everything, so you can find me on
one
Facebook
of the lucky
at
people.
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook at Long Fly Ball. You can find me on Twitter at Long Fly Ball. You can find me on Blue Skies at Long Fly Ball. You can find me on Instagram at Long Fly Ball. So
you got the name on lockdown. That is challenging to do in this day and age.
Yeah, trust me, it was hard. It's the only place I don't have it is Yahoo Sports. I have no idea why.
I don't think anybody, but see, all your fantasy teams are stuck with the one thing.
I'm not that good, so it's like, yeah.
I'm not either. So let's take a look back at 2023. I think it's been a big year for wrestling cards. Tell me if you could pick out one of your favorite moments or highlights from the year, either personal, hobby, both, whatever, and just talk about what that meant to you and how you are looking back on that moment as we get into the end of the year here.
For sure. I've got there's two key events. One's hobby and one is hobby / personal. The key hobby event for me, obviously, and I think hopefully for most people, was the 2023 National and the main event. The after
it's come
show,
up a lot, and I'm not paying people to say that. I promise.
No, but this is one of those things that I've been going to nationals on and off since 2010, and
wow.
This is always one of my key complaints, is that I wish the national were more like, not exactly like, but I wish it were more like Comic-Con, and I wish it had more content for collectors, not just the buying and selling of cards. I really wish it had more content for people that don't want to go and spend the money, don't want to go, but they still have a reason to go. And
yeah,
the Breaker Pavilion started like that. It started to be kind of like a sideshow. But even back when I was on Cardboard Connection Radio, I was suggesting, why can't we have Comic-Con? Why can't we have an artist alley? And then you started seeing Jared Kelly show up. You started seeing other guys. The booths were bringing them in, which is fantastic, because those are the aspects that I like to see at the show, is the content. It's a poor word now, but back in 2010, the content creators actually created content for cards. Now it's, anybody can throw together a TikTok video and they're a content creator. But I wanted to see an artist alley. I wanted to see more behind the scenes stuff, and that's what we're getting. But I also wanted more after hour stuff, and it was going to, and it is going to require the involvement of people outside the national. And
Yeah.
that's what you guys did. You took the ball and you ran with it and said, you know what, we're going to do something for collectors outside the hobby. And this is what I think, what they call the old guard were asking for back in 2010, 11. But these are the kind of things you want something to do after the show. You want something to do after you've walked the floor, spent your money. You want somewhere to sit down and join with other collectors. That doesn't necessarily involve spending more money. It's a sharing of ideas, a sharing of collections, and sitting there at those tables, watching those collections spread out, and just being able to go by and look to them and be able to talk to the collectors. That was the key for me. I was able to talk to the guys that collected this, and I wasn't being pushed off because they had a deal to make, they had a sale to make. They were just there to show off their collection and to talk to other collectors. And like I told you guys at the end of this main event, enjoy what you did, because it's never going to be in that size room ever again.
That's not a lie. Absolutely. So yeah, I can't disagree with you on any of that. I mean, it was never meant to be anything more than just a gathering of like-minded individuals, and it turned out to be awesome. I'm glad so many people have put that as their moment, and as you've watched through this video now, viewers, you've probably seen how many people have brought that up. But it's just a testament to how important this show is every year. And like David, I've been going to the National for a long time as well, and last year was one of the first times where I actually had like more fun with people in a large space than it was just talking with individual conversations on the floor, the vendor tables or whatever. So yeah, that was really cool. You said you had a personal one as well.
Yeah, and the kind of / hobby personal one I had was I made a connection once again through the Facebook groups and through just meeting other collectors. I was put in contact with another collector that I'm working on a deal, and I'm pretty sure it's going to come to fruition. But this has been in the works for a couple months, and thank you to the patience of the seller. But I'm going to be adding to my collection probably the biggest card I've ever added to my collection.
Oh wow.
And like that, be that baseball, be that hockey, be that non-sport, be that wrestling. This is going to be the biggest card I've added to my collection. I did already add the biggest card to my collection in 2023. This is going to eclipse it.
Wow.
But this is going to become a cornerstone of my collection. And like, I'm actually really excited about doing this. And part of refocusing, I should say, my collection has been kind of a turnaround in my thought process of how I'm collecting, what I'm collecting, and sort of rationalizing it, but also, just coming to terms that, it makes sense. This is what a collection is all about. And so that's why, I feel good and I feel excited doing this. I'm not sick to my stomach over spending this kind of money.
We've all been in those types of deals too, I'm sure. Well, I can't wait to see what it is when it eventually shows up. What was the one that was the first cornerstone of your collection that you added?
The first cornerstone I added, actually, it's over my left shoulder here. So the very first cornerstone I added was my first Alexa Bliss 101.
Nice.
And I worked a nice deal for that one. But that was
this year, you said?
That was this year. That was early this year. And then that was quickly eclipsed by getting the one-of-one bug. And then just having to have them. But this one here, I think this one was this is my purchase of 2023. This is the one I was really excited to get. I'm really happy to have in my collection. I'm not sure how many people even know I have this, but now whoever watches this video is going to know.
Right.
But I ended up with the National Treasures one
Oh
of
wow,
one,
that's cool.
and I was able to work a nice deal for that one. That made me happy. It's a nice small run. I should be able to complete the rainbow of that one. But yeah, that was my purchase of 2023.
That's really cool. Yeah, I think like as we get into because Paul has been posting the videos of the collector series, and there's so many people that have come on to that and said like, "Hey, this is how I collect. This is why I collect." It's funny because as I've gone through these tapings, which are happening like rapid fire over the last couple of days, it's funny how many people have focused their collection around one specific person or one specific thing. And I always knew that in wrestling, that was a big deal in the Facebook groups. It was less of a deal on Twitter and Instagram. But seeing now, like it does make me think like more and more people are going down that route. So it's cool that you've been able to add not one, not two, but it looks like three different really major PC ads. So here's my wild card question for you. I know this was a hot topic on Twitter a couple of months ago, or maybe a month ago. What is a Grail card? And I think that we've all sort of gotten into it, but it sounds like you are in the process of procuring one of your Grails. Give me your ultimate wrestling card Grail. It doesn't have to be this one that you're getting, but if you could define a wrestling card Grail, what would it look like?
Well, my wrestling card Grail doesn't exist, but if it were, if it was carte blanche and I could have anybody create the card I want, it would be a quad signature booklet card of Matt Relic and get match used Relic, but I would want a quad card of Earl Hebner, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart.
I know where you're going with this. Yes,
Yeah.
I love it. That's amazing.
Yeah. I've always wanted to somehow get that card done because I think as cliche as
it's still possible. Like it is still possible.
Yep.
All of those people are still alive. So yes, that is still possible.
But I think as cliche as the Montreal Screwjob has become, I still think it's an iconic moment. It's a touchstone moment in wrestling.
Yes, for sure. I agree. And if you haven't heard already, Dave is a Canadian by heart. And so seeing him say the Montreal Screwjob is his Grail is not a shock. But man, like that would be so cool. I asked a couple of other people like what their dream cards have been in the course of these videos, and I've heard a number of different answers, but this one specifically is something I've never heard somebody say. Like we need Earl Hebner, Vince, Shawn, and Bret, and some Matt, and like that is, chef's kiss.
Yeah.
That was really good. I like that. So I appreciate you hopping on. Thank you so much for joining this video. I wish you the best of luck in 24. I really hope that you're around this year as well in Cleveland. I know we're planning some really big things. So hopefully we'll do it all over again.
My plan is to be in Cleveland. I'm only 5 hours away, so my plan is to be in Cleveland.
I was just gonna say it's more in your neck of the woods this time. So
yes, it is. Yes.
All right, man. Well, it's good talking to you. Thanks again. I am here with Drake McGruder. I'm so excited to have you on. Obviously, you and I have been talking now for it's got to be over a year at this point. And we've done a number of these shows together. You've been on the channel, so I'm glad you're able to be a part of this video. How's everything going for you right now? Where can they find you on social media and everything, just in case people aren't familiar with you?
Yeah, man, it's going well. Just gearing up for the holiday season and exciting times in wrestling and wrestling cards. But yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Drakes_PC, on X, Twitter, whatever we call it now. At Drake
I refuse to call it X. I refuse. So great to have you on. I think it's great to have conversations with people that are familiar to the channel because there isn't as much like sort of back and forth that needs to be done, but also people are very familiar with your collection and kind of your exploits, so they know what you're about. Tell me, if you had to go back in 2023, this is the question I've been asking everybody on this video. If you had to go back in 2023 and pick out, a single highlight or moment that really stands out to you, what would that be? It can be personal, hobby wide, both, whatever you got, whatever you feel. is best for kind of what you are feeling your moment is, and then we'll get into one other question as well.
Yeah, so I'll break that down into two different things. So for me, so one will be moment, the other will be cards. So the highlight moment, I guess, for me in 2023 would be getting the opportunity to speak on the main stage at the national.
Yeah.
This was only my second national to attend, and I remember going to my first one back in 2021 and seeing folks and that were talking on the main stage, and I thought, wow, that'd be really cool to get to do one day, and didn't realize that the next time I went to a national that I would actually get to speak on that main stage, right? And then that was kind of the lead into the main event, which I'm wearing the shirt, pan down real quick.
Wearing the shirt of the band you're going to see. I like it.
Yeah, man, for sure. Kind of a shameless plug for the main event, which will be coming up in Cleveland next year. So I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, but in terms of moments and stuff, that actually getting to speak on the main stage and just all the excitement around wrestling cards and stuff was definitely a big moment for me for 2023. And then secondly, when it comes to cards, probably the biggest thing that or most excited acquisition I had this year would be when I picked up the 2022 Rock Select Ringside Black 101 PSA 10. That was one of those cards where, like many people, right? Prism's king. It will always be king. There's just one black in Prism versus multiple levels in Select.
Are you saying you don't have $126,000 to spend? Is that what you're admitting here?
That's what I'm admitting. I don't have $126,000. That would it would take liquidating too much of my collection to where it would put me in an uncomfortable spot. That collector, I like having cards, right? So, but yeah, it was one of those things where I like most people, right? We know Prism's king and all that, but we like the design of Select, and I think I have both Prism and Select cards of the Rock from 2022, and and I've always liked the design better of Select, that ringside design with Rock.
Me too,
and the Rock bottom, to John Cena and stuff.
It's a great design.
It's a cool image, and it's I've explained that the story's kind of cool about how the card was pulled raw, and I missed the chance to acquire it, and then it got graded, and then I really thought it was out of my price range, and it went to auction, and then I won it, and so I'm just that for me was probably my most most exciting moment personally that's card related in 2023.
Yeah, it's a big card. It's a great card, first of all. Like, it's just so awesome to see. I think it's, if you look at the grand scheme of The Rock, and I think he has emerged as like the face of the VIP section of wrestling cards. And you see, like, there's the Topps era really didn't have that Rock card because he never signed any autographs. He was parts of sets. He had superfractors, but those never reached the levels that we saw with the Prism sale, which has been a subject of a lot of these videos, but also the Select card, which I think is just such an incredible image. And you're right. And the fact that it's graded PSA 10 adds a lot of value for collectors that go that direction. You have a really unique sort of story here because you have such a large football collection. I know you collect Peyton Manning and Drew Brees. Like, those, having that sort of experience to feed on in the national as well, where you're there to talk about wrestling cards, but I'm sure that experience just expands to all areas of your collection. I can see why that was such an awesome experience as somebody who was there as well. Like, I can say that panel was just so awesome to see, and I can't say enough good things about how much exposure that brings to the hobby. So then the second question is, now that you've sort of had all of these big acquisitions in 2023, I know you've had a lot of different experiences inside the hobby as well, and just with people. What are your collecting goals? What are your collecting goals for 2024? Like, what are you hoping to accomplish next year, or what's your expectation level for next year, given all the circumstances?
Yeah, it's kind of, it's interesting to see because we still really don't know what, in terms of new releases and things like that, exactly what's going to be around next year, right? So you're kind of looking backwards a little bit, and you're thinking like, man, so what's out there that I'd really like to pick up? So I'll share a few things that are on my list. So Jerry Lawler, right? He's one of the guys that I collect. I've got pretty much every one of his Panini era cards. I've never seen his 2022 Prism Black. I would love to
Yeah.
add that to my collection there as well. I still need a Hulk Hogan Gold Prism from 2022. That's one I'm
Really?
missing.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm kind of surprised to hear that, actually.
well, it's I don't know if it's fortunate or unfortunate, but there's a couple of guys I know that have one, and and they're they're very proud of them, I guess I'll say, just to put it nicely.
Yeah.
Which I would be too if I had one. So it's no shame or knock on those guys, but it's one I'm trying to add. And fortunately, I guess I've only seen a couple out in the wild, so there's still got to be more that are hiding in boxes and things like that. So just that, and then two, looking back, right? So I'd really love to add a Roman Reigns. I mean, not Roman Reigns, a Rock. Sorry, 2015 Chrome Red Refractor. Which those are out of 5.
Tough,
I've never seen one before. And so I've got his golds and things like that, but I've never seen a 2015 Chrome Red of the Rock, which I would really like to add. And if somehow that 2014 Chrome Superfractor is still hiding and it gets revealed in the wild, that sure would be a happy card.
And that was gonna be my wild card question is going to be on the 2014. So we've seen the 2015 Superfractor. That's been pulled. It's been graded. We've seen the 2020 Superfractor. That's owned by Charles on Instagram. He has that card. That's been graded. The 2021 didn't have a base card. There's other Superfractors that have been pulled, but he didn't have a base card. So that leaves that 2014, which everyone and their mother is looking to figure out where that card exists. Now, if we do the math, and I didn't mean to go into this huge long explanation, but we're going to have to do it now. If you do the math, there's only about 250 cases of 2014 Chrome. That is not a lot. There are more retail blaster cases of Select than there are 2014 hobby cases of Chrome. Where do you think this card is? Like, I that was my question. Like, of anybody who has really been the maven of Superfractors, like, you have collected every single one that has been out there. You've bought the Roman Reigns. Where is this 2014 Rock?
Oh gosh, that's the $100,000
$1,000,000
question. In more ways than one, right? I mean, it's funny. I'll look on eBay, and right there's that hobby box that's sitting out there, and you go,
right?
What if? But the what if isn't enough for me to pull the $2,000 trigger. That the price
That's a
tag
lot.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of money for that. So, I mean, it's so tough to say. With the resurgence in cards over the past few years, you would think that people have dug through their closets, and there's no mistaking a Superfractor, even if you don't know the value or things like that. It just has a look to it that when you see it, you're like, wow, that's a cool card, right? And so I doubt it's got thrown away or something like that.
And it's not like the Rock has become more popular since 2014. So it's not like he was a jabroni in 2014. Somebody just tossed it in a binder.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, the answer is I don't know. You would like to think that it's still sitting in a box somewhere, just waiting to be opened, because you think if someone had pulled it, that they surely would, remember they pulled it, and and they've called their mom and dad to look through their shoe boxes and stuff like that.
Right.
You would think that would have happened by now, but who knows?
Yeah, agreed. I can't say I know where it is either. I've seen so many different theories on it. I wanted to hear yours because you're one of those people I hadn't heard your theory on it. And but the next question is what's it worth? But I think we're kind of past that point now. We're just like, let's just hope it's still out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm curious to see when Topps comes back, because they're either going to come back in 26 or depending on what happens with this lawsuit, they'll come back more quickly. We're going to get cards like this, pretty frequently. And I still am curious what they do with eventually getting the Rock to sign more cards, or, bringing, new names to the table like Panini has. So hopefully we get more Rock Superfractors in the market, and maybe this one will eventually surface.
Yes, exactly. Well, it's one of those things. There's still a lot of things that are hanging out there, right, that have not been pulled yet, right? For example, 2022, the Roman Reigns Black has never been pulled before
Another
in the
card.
model.
Yeah, it's another one of those cards. Yeah.
And so I think that to me, with like we talked about, there's unknowns as far as releases and new product and things like that. I think that's the thing I'm most excited about as we move into next year, because I think people will, I hate to say get bored, but some people bought a bunch of wax and stashed it away, and at some point you look at it and say, hey, it might be kind of fun to open that. And then maybe we see more of those types of cards
Something
kind of come out
crazy
into the
happens.
wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, man. Well, it was great to have you on. I wish the best of luck in 2024. Hopefully, we catch up. I know you come to Minneapolis a couple of times, so we've actually been able to connect there as well. Hopefully, we get to do that at some point coming up here as well. Great to get you on this video, and thanks for taking the time.
Yep. Thanks for what you do for the hobby and wrestling cards, Adam.
Oh, I appreciate it. And thanks for wearing the main event T-shirt. I hope hope we get to make some cool ones this year as well.
Thank
All right,
you.
man. I'm here with Jamie Wallace. How you doing, my friend? Great to see you again. You've been on a few of our videos in the past. For those of you who don't know Jamie, do you want to give your quick introduction where they can find you on social media, stuff like that?
Sure, yeah. So on Twitter, or it's called X now, I am at Axel Foley 13, and on Instagram at Axel underscore Foley 13 underscore PC.
Awesome.
And if you see any like WCW like autographs or any Michael Jordan or any Torrey Holt or stuff like that, probably from me.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and
Mhm.
like that's really your claim to fame is like you've had this intense focus on the WCW autograph set from
Mhm.
98 and 99. Awesome, awesome collection. Definitely go check him out on Instagram and Twitter, whatever it's called now. I'm never going to call it X.
Yeah.
And see what he's all about. Jamie, if you had to look back at 2023 and sort of pull out one of your favorite highlights or moments that you think defines the year for you, what would that be, either personally, hobby wide, whatever? Curious to see
Uh,
kind of what your highlight has been this year.
Sure. Well, hobby wide, I mean, I'm assuming you'll probably get a lot of the same answer. I would say that Black Rock 1 of 1.
Mm-hmm.
When that sold, that was, pretty big deal. $126,000. That's a pretty big, big number. I don't think anyone ever thought there would ever be a six-figure card in the wrestling. Personally, honestly, when I met all you guys at the National, that was great. I know we had been like talking over the last year or so, but to actually like meet everybody and talk with everybody and show each other's like cards and all that stuff at the main event, um, and just walking through the national floor itself and seeing a bunch of you guys there and talking with people, putting faces to names and everything, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that was absolutely just one of the most fun experiences. Looking back on some kind of your approach in the hobby here, like, would you say that you've taken a step forward even beyond your original focus in 23? Like, I know you've started to pick up a whole bunch of stuff, but your main collections have always been sort of the Macho Man, Sting,
Mhm.
WCW autographs. Like, what has sort of transpired over the year for you, and sort of what did you see in terms of the wrestling card community as it evolved over that time frame as well?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I would just say again, building a bunch of relationships, and I was able to pick up, a bunch more autograph cards, a few like rare ones. I did have two full sets at the same time. I did unload my one set, so I could afford some like Michael Jordan stuff.
Mm.
Um,
No one
so
ever
and
gets
again,
fired for collecting Michael Jordan, right?
what's that?
No one ever gets fired for collecting Michael Jordan. He's the one
Right. Yeah, it's
constant in
not.
this hobby.
I mean, even when the market dips, I mean, and like his stuff kind of dips, it never really like falls off a cliff kind of thing. But his stuff is super expensive. But yeah, I was able to like earlier this year acquire the Macho Man, that Black 1 of 1. Um, I mean, I like had it for a few months. I really didn't need it. So I actually used that. I sold that off and then I saved some of that money. And then I also used some of that money to buy some like Jordan cards. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm just as far as like next year goes and everything, just staying the focus. If there's any high graded like autograph cards, I'll try to go after those. Anything Sting, Macho Man, I'll try to go after. Um, but yeah, lately I've been doing a bunch of Isaac Bruce, Torrey Holt stuff, which is a lot cheaper.
Yeah, because compared to Michael
Shockingly,
Jordan, yeah.
actually, shockingly, actually, because like Bruce is in the Hall of Fame and Torrey Holt will be eventually, um, in the Hall of Fame. And yeah, their stuff just probably a third of even what Sting and Macho Man stuff goes for.
Wow.
So,
And that you mentioned that black 101 Prism, the Macho Man. That's probably the best looking Prism card that has ever been built. I like
mhm.
the Rock is the most valuable. We know that. We know that there's very popular aspects of Prism, the golds and everything, but nothing really stuck out like that card as being just a prime example of what a black 1 of 1 should look like. It is just such a great photo. I can understand why you wanted that card. I also
Mhm.
understand like if you're trying to diversify your collection and build more of an approach that sort of expands the number of things, having that in your collection as a tentpole is probably pretty hard to maintain. But man, like some of the stuff you've picked up, I know you've recently picked up the Hogan All Stars. You've picked up some great Michael Jordan stuff. You picked up a whole bunch of different items over the course of the year. So yeah, I saw you got a Sting Superfractor as well out of the Allure set. Like there's a whole bunch of
Mhm.
things that you were able to accomplish. So I get the trade-offs, right? There's funds aren't unlimited, so we've got to make trade-offs, and that makes sense. My wild card question for you,
Mhm.
and this is something I've been doing with everybody, because you are a big hockey fan, you with the Maple Leafs, you are a big
Unfortunately.
wrestling fan as well.
Mhm.
If you could put one hockey player into a real fight with one of the wrestlers, what would be your main event match in hockey versus wrestling? I'm curious.
Well, actually, so that kind of hits home. There's a guy on Toronto. His name is Ryan Reeves,
Mm-hmm.
and big guy, huge guy. I would probably put him in the ring with like Brock Lesnar and see what
Oh wow.
happens. See what happens. I mean, I want to say he's probably like 6'3", 6'4", 250. He's not a skill guy at all. He's what you call a fourth line like goon type.
He's a
Those they
goon, yeah,
still do
exactly, yeah.
exist. They still do exist in today's game. But yeah, I probably would have to put him in there and see what happens. So
I'd pay to see that fight. Yeah, for
yeah, for
sure.
sure. Yeah, yeah,
That's
absolutely.
awesome, man. Yeah, I think it's really interesting because the parallels between the hockey card community and the wrestling card community tend to be very, very clear. Mainly because like they're kind of the like hockey's always been the fourth sport in the mainstream hobby. Wrestling's kind of
Hmm.
this tinier niche, but they've kind of like converged into like the focus and size of a lot of the collector bases. So it's just
Hmm.
interesting to see how people react to like we've always had the battles between vintage and modern and like
Hmm.
things about like who's the like Wayne Gretzky in hockey being the equivalent of Hulk Hogan, all of those things. There's so many parallels to draw between the two areas. So it's a cool sort of dichotomy that exists within the general hobby population, right? Is like these communities all over the place, each have their own sort of quirks and deliveries, right?
Right, and it's so funny too because sometimes I'll see like, for example, there was a guy, and I think I shared that photo with you, had a bunch of late '90s Isaac Bruce stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and you click on his page, and he's got a few like wrestling cards too.
Yeah, it's
So it's just
crazy.
so it's kind of funny. Actually, people do both, or they do three or four things. Yeah, it's kind of like crazy. It's usually when you do click on their page and they collect wrestling, a lot of it is like Hogan stuff or like Roman stuff.
Right.
But just the fact that they're doing that, it's kind of cool to see people
Yeah.
doing the main four sports and then the wrestling also.
Yeah, and you mentioned the rock sale earlier on. Like, I think that was one of the sort of that stake in the ground, and
Hmm.
there's a lot of people that have used that as their highlight, and rightfully so. Like, that was just a massive event, and I think it's something that when you look back on how wrestling cards were perceived before that sale, and then after that sale, just an incredible change in the way that the community was taken, and in terms of like, we saw people see that wrestling cards are just as cool as some of these other areas, and are able to generate that type of interest. We've had 6-figure sales in sports cards since, multiple years ago. More recently, it's become a common thing, but wrestling has never happened. So to see that The Rock was outperforming people like Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady and LeBron James and all of that was just incredible.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. And like I said, I mean, I don't think we've seen. I mean, that'll probably be the sale for a long time. Um, yeah, I don't think we've seen another public sale of like a Hogan All Stars come up anytime recently. But if there was another like PSA 9 out there, I know there's a few big wigs out there that would definitely want one. So we could see another 6-figure sale, you never know.
Yeah, it's like, I hope we get to a point where those are happening more frequently, because I think it just gives us a lot more credence to continue what we're doing, and just continue to bring the spotlight to wrestling cards is what everybody has. But anyways, I wish you the best of luck in 2024. I hope it's as successful as it was in 23. Thank you for taking the time to hop on, man. I really appreciate it.
Sure, no problem. Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, I look forward to a bunch of stuff in 24, and definitely looking forward to next July in Cleveland.
Yeah, man, we're gonna do it all over again. I know a lot of people are expecting to come. It's gonna be bigger and better. A little bit more of a drive, I think, because nothing is connected to the actual convention center this time.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah, yeah.
But hopefully, we'll still have some really fun people coming. And I know with the different sponsorships switching over to RBI Crew and Sports Card Junction being the main sponsors, they are promising some big things to happen. So I'm excited.
It's awesome. Yeah, I can't wait. Can't wait
awesome,
for
man.
stuff to be announced.
Awesome, man.
All right,
I'll catch up with you soon. Yeah, thanks. All right. So I'm here with Zhan Mourning, infamous content creator for wrestling cards. Zhan, thank you for joining our end of year bonanza here with the community. Tell everybody where they can find you, and kind of where you can be located on social media.
Sure. Thanks for having me. First of all, I know that scheduling is always an issue when anybody is doing something like this. So luckily, I did have time to jump on here. My name's Zhan, and I started the Wrestling with Cards YouTube channel. And then with Tony from WrestlingTradingCards.com, we've done the Worlds Collide podcast. We've done a live card show. I mean, we just do all kinds of stuff, anything we have time for, and an idea that pops up. And yeah, so I don't think I'm any kind of like trailblazer or anything. I just like wrestling cards. I started the YouTube channel, and it's been great. So yeah, check me out on YouTube, and then you can find links to everything else from there.
Awesome. So Zhan, I think I'm going to be asking everybody the same questions here. Tell me, if you had to look back on 2023, what was your moment of the year that you think really defined wrestling cards for this past sort of 12-month period?
I'm going to kind of cheat and give you a few different answers, but they eventually all, and I'll make it quick. First, obviously, 2022 Prism Black 101 Rock sale. And I think it was huge, not from, there's people that want to sit here and argue about, well, what's this going to do in the future? What's this going to do to other rock cards? I don't care. That's not the point. The point is that it put wrestling cards on this pedestal that TMZ is covering it. I mean, if you'd have asked me even a year ago, is TMZ ever going to cover wrestling cards? Why? Why would they? They would have no reason to.
Yeah.
So the fact that was, which I think it's a cool card, and I had to go out and get the poor man's gold orange out of 99 version of it. I bought it this year because I found an affordable price, just to kind of signify that moment. Like, obviously, I'm not going to go out and try to. You probably couldn't get that card out of that collector's hands anyway. But I was like, this is a moment in time that's huge for wrestling cards. I want to kind of make that mark in my collection, something similar. The other thing, and this is just kind of actually, let me kind of tie into that, is the influx of wrestling card collectors, just in general. And that kind of ties in with that rock. People are seeing, oh, wrestling cards? I didn't know they existed. Wrestling cards, they sell for this much. Let me try to get in and flip those. Let me try to get in and collect that stuff. I grew up in the Attitude Era. I want a piece of that history, that nostalgia. So it's just been awesome to see all the influx of wrestling card collectors coming in 2023. It just seems like we're on this step ladder, and we just keep getting bigger and bigger. and everybody's doing different things. Player collectors,
Yeah.
set collectors, flippers, dealers, breakers that are specifically for wrestling cards. It's all good. I just love seeing it all come in. From a personal standpoint, I love seeing wrestling PMGs. I know the Upper Deck product has gotten a lot of hate, and rightfully so, but I'm a huge 90s basketball fan, and for anybody that knows that stuff, we know the PMGs from the late 90s are huge. And we had the Hogan one for a while, but now to see an MJF, a Chris Jericho, which at the time of recording, I'm waiting on my Chris Jericho to come in the mail, and finally got one of those. Super excited about that. Sting, I know a lot of people hate them, but I like them. And then lastly, again, a personal one, getting the Karrion Kross Prism Black 1 of 1, getting a card that Panini used as the cover of their sell sheet, and it's a 1 of 1. I have no business owning this, but somehow I got it.
Sell sheet cards are always awesome. I think that's you hit kind of what were some of my major ones. I think that Rock Sale is a historic moment for wrestling cards. I think it's something that is just so unique. Although I'm not a fan of anything from the late 90s, hate me all you want for it, but the PMGs definitely were a big story. Personal collecting goals, everybody who has those Prism Black 101s, is so proud to have those. Really awesome to hear that you were able to get your target. I think what we've seen, what Paul is doing with the collector series, and I was just on with Matt, and we were talking about the importance of those. So I hear you, man. That's really, congratulations on that pickup. That's huge. Anytime you get a sell sheet card, it's just a huge deal. So with that, you've had seemingly a great 2023. What are your collecting goals now for 2024? Handicap the next year for me. What are you trying to set out and do?
Same thing. I finally just focused. I've got a couple different lanes I collect, and I'll just run through it real quick. I don't want to bore everybody. 82, 83 Wrestling All-Stars signed. I have the whole set. I bought it from Matt Cardona a few years ago, and I've just been trying to replace those. I don't care about the grades, but I just been trying to replace those with signed copies, getting those graded by PSA, not to do some kind of competition with the registry. I don't care about that stuff. I just, want them. I try to collect one autograph of every ECW star that ever appeared in the company, and I don't care what that is, whether it's sticker, on card, what company it's in. So that's a lane. And then, of course, the Karrion Kross Super Collection. That's my main focus. That is the thing that I'm just going to continue. And, it's interesting. Wrestling cards have so many player collectors, and I absolutely love it because I get it all the time. And, I'm sure you could probably ask the same question. Why do you collect this guy? He does jobs on SmackDown. He's lucky to even be on TV, when you get so far down the rabbit hole of this collection,
doesn't matter.
Sure,
none of that matters.
I have a connection with the talent, right? Obviously there's something there.
He responds to you on Twitter. That's so awesome.
Yeah. And where are you going to get that with most sports cards? You know what I mean? That's just another great thing with wrestling. And when you get so far down the rabbit hole and you get that connection with whoever it is you're collecting, I don't care who it is or what it is, the collection starts outweighing the talent on the card, if that makes sense. And that's something that so many people are having a hard time getting through their minds when it comes to, why should I put this set collection together? Why should I collect this person on NXT that barely gets any TV time? That you just don't understand until you start doing it. I know you could say the same thing. Obviously, Becky's a different situation, higher echelon talent, but it's the same concept. And then the other thing, and again, it's more of a personal thing, but it also is it is a continuation of what we saw in 2023, content, community. A couple years ago when I started the YouTube channel, I was just like, well, it would be fun to kind of start a channel talking about wrestling cards. I don't think a lot of people are. I'm not going to say I'm some expert. Just want to give some perspective so the collectors, or bring in more collectors, can see wrestling cards, take any of that information, be it entertainment, valuable information, whatever it is, take it and run with it, do their own thing. Since then, we've seen other content creators pop up. You guys are doing a great job. Everybody you're bringing in on the WTC channel. I don't miss any videos, even if it's somebody that I have a differing opinion on or somebody that I don't like. I don't care. It's great content. There's always good information on there. So you guys are killing it, and I hope to see more content creators. So that's a goal, to just keep putting out content and keep encouraging community members and new collectors to come in and encourage people to collect whatever they want, however they want, and not get caught up in all the Twitter stuff of people telling you who and what you should do. Just have fun. Right. I mean, that's what we're here to do in the whole first place, is connection and nostalgia with whatever it is you connect with, whether it's modern stars, modern product, old stuff, old stars, dead people. It doesn't matter. Have fun doing what you're doing. Grow the community. That's it.
I love it. I love it. That's a great approach, and I think I love sort of the ability you've just sort of shown to sort of capitalize on all the different aspects of the community, and that was really one of the things of this video series. Of you'll see as people walk through all the people that are going to be on this video. Like there's so many different people with so many different voices. You kind of covered what was going to be my wild card question. I was planning on doing at least one wild card question for every guest. So mine was going to be, as you look back on 2023 as a content creator, and I'm going to do this for everybody. How have you seen things progress from when you came into 2023 in January? Now we're in December. As a content creator, what's been your take on the way that the voices have inspired you as somebody that's putting your opinion out there on a regular basis?
I think that it just goes back to more voices. And I don't care what anybody says. That's what I want. I want more opinions. I want differing opinions. I want people that hate me. I want people that love me. I want people that
Right.
thumbs down my videos, thumbs up. That, like, it doesn't matter. And I didn't see kind of the last couple years. You'd see that sparingly. But now you could put out something that is unexpectedly a hot take, and all of a sudden you start seeing comments roll in. You start getting the hate mail. You start getting the people that are saying, I always loved wrestling. I found this video that you put out like earlier this year, and all of a sudden I'm collecting wrestling cards. So
yeah, exactly.
A lot more response and a lot more opinions, which I love, and a lot more just involvement. And that kind of seems to be kind of the like tying everything you've asked me in this video together today is like new people coming in, involvement, conversation. And I understand that the money and prospecting and all that stuff is going to continue to be a thing. It's been in the hobby for, since the beginning. But I love that some of these people are now getting into this more so for the aspect of this is a cool collection because I want it, not because I'm trying to just make money. Sure, if you make money on it, that's cool. But it's just the involvement is what is kind of my goal to continue, and something I've seen kind of percolate and hopefully get better and bigger.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you for taking a short minute here to talk about the end of the year. I think this is a really cool time. Thanks again. Really happy to have you on.
Thank you. We got to do this again next year. Up and at 'em, upper echelon. Just keep going with wrestling cards. It's to the moon, so to speak. Oh, maybe I shouldn't say that.
No, that's awesome, man. All right, thank you. I am here with Brett McGrath, person who has carved out such a indelible mark in the hobby from his podcast, Stacking Slabs. If you haven't listened to it, make sure you go check it out. Brett, close of 2023, man. I know this has been a fun year for you. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm actually like super into the product, non-card related. So it's been fun to just be a wrestling fan. Right now, I feel like there's a lot of really fun stuff going on. And then, we're in this interesting time with wrestling cards where it's just like, what's going to happen next? So as we prepare for the future, I'm just kind of like preparing for the unknown, but it's fun.
Yeah, I think we're all in that kind of bucket of like what's going to happen with all the court cases and the antitrust and you name it. But, we're kind of just pressing onwards as we always do, no matter who's making the cards. But yeah, I mean, like the product right now on TV is unbeatable. And I like, it's not a shock to me that they're selling out literally every arena in the country.
Yeah, and I think what's fun too, right? Everything revolves around WrestleMania season. The seeds are being planted already, and the WWE is just such a phenomenal marketing machine. I think everyone's speculating, and the hype's momentum, all the fun stuff. So I'm excited as we record this to tune into SmackDown tonight because my tribal chief will be back on the screen, and I've
finally,
missed him. Yeah, I've missed him. So
I'm really interested to see it. I'm really interested to see if they throw CM Punk in there with him, or if they go back to LA Knight, or both, or who knows. But I'm sure we'll find out quickly. So, 2023. If you had to look back and take a look at your personal highlight, your experience over the year, like if you had to pick out, because WWE is all based on moments, like what would be your moment of the year that you wanted to sort of keep in your mind as we go into the next year here?
Yeah, so I think for me, I've always been a collector that's been focused on an individual, but also have kind of cast a wide net because I have a lot of areas of interest and focus. And I found myself this year really feeling like money spent in areas outside of my Roman Reigns collection didn't satisfy me as much as just going harder on finding and buying cards in my Roman Reigns collection. So I think that for me, like, Roman Reigns is my favorite wrestler of all time. It's really fun to collect someone that I feel that passionate about in real time with new products coming out. So the highlight for me, I think, was just like that realization. And we're talking about cards, so I have to share my favorite pickup and my favorite card,
Yes,
which this card, when you collect it, and I know you feel this way about Becky Lynch because you focus so much on her as like collecting her. But when you find a card that like you connect with because of the photography and all the elements align, I think it's always just like you got to do whatever you can to get it. So when the Select product dropped, it was I saw the cards, and it dropped while we were at the National. So I was like seeing things here and there, and but then when I saw the Concourse card, I was like, man, that card is like it to me. It's like awesome. It's an iconic Roman Reigns card. So I like, bought the gold, the lucky envelope. Like I was getting all the parallels, but like I was wanted the black, one of one. And I saw it get pulled, and I saw a photo of the collector who pulled it. And I was like, oh man, I got to do whatever I can to try to acquire this card. And for me, the lesson was like, he didn't want to sell it, but just be respectful, be persistent. And a few weeks ago, ended up acquiring the black one of one Concourse 2023 Roman Reigns. So this card is like, this is my highlight of the year because it's a card I love and can't beat a black one of one. So this would probably be.
I'm not going to disagree with you there.
Yeah,
I'm not going to disagree with you there.
And I thought Select just in general, loved little things that they did. I love the first off the line Mojos. That product continues to be incredible. So who knows what's going to happen with Panini stuff, but I think they've done another really good job this year.
I can't disagree with you, man. I think Select every year is just like one of those products that I look forward to more than literally any other product that's out there. I mean, I can't say I don't have a soft spot in my heart for Immaculate this year. I thought they did an absolutely tremendous job with that as well. I hope we get a second version of that. But, man, to pick up that card, like the photos in Select this year, I think as good as they were last year, they were almost that much better this year, which is just insane. So that they were able to like take it even a step further. So
one comment on Immaculate. So not like I'm more of a shiny card guy and not as much on like autos and patches, but for me with this clock ticking on the Panini license and me doubling down on Roman, I felt compelled to dip my toe in the Immaculate waters. And what a product. And I feel like I'm like a shill right now, but like at the National, I bought the triple auto of the Bloodline. And then I ended up buying a Roman Reigns premium patch gold out of 10. And they're just such cool cards. So
such a great card.
Yeah. So I think they've done a nice job, and there's just so many things to collect, especially if you're collecting ultra modern right now.
Yeah, I can't disagree there either. And I think, I mean, I've seen just some incredible patches on those cards. I've seen just insane things happen when you open boxes of Immaculate. Love that product. I've ripped an absolute ton of Selects as well and bought so many of the singles. So yeah, I can't disagree that picking up the black 101s. I think this is the first year where I haven't had one of the base 101s in my collection yet from Select by this point, but I think we're still waiting on a few things to shake out. But I'm excited to see where this goes, because if we can get more years of this, I think it only becomes, more of a representation of how important this set is. And I like trilogies, right? Everybody likes trilogies. So if we can get at least one more year, I think that would be great. So if you're looking back at 2023 now, moving into 2024, do you have some collecting goals that you've sort of set for yourself to really make the most of the next year and make it as good and fun as this year has been?
Yeah, so I think for me, it's with the uncertainty and not knowing, like I hope we get another year of Select. I hope we get another year of Prism, but like it's all up in the air. And I think for me, it's doing whatever I can to go back to relationships that I built in the hobby, people I've met, collectors that I know, to try to find cards of Roman Reigns that aren't available, that aren't on the market. I enjoy that. Like I enjoy leveraging relationships to try to find cards and knowing that it's like a long sales deal, a long process. It's going to take a while, but feel like if you spend time focusing on the relationships, be kind, eventually cards end up coming your way. So that's kind of my area of focus, is don't go just spend money because stuff's just popping up on eBay or another third-party platform, but really just be an investigator and try to find the cards that I want. And once I find them, do whatever I can to acquire them.
Yeah, and you post a lot on social media just talking about your philosophy for collecting. I really encourage you guys to go check it out. He's a really good sort of approach in terms of a positive look at being a collector and engaging as a collector. Really awesome sort of feedback from other people within the hobby who engage with you as well. So you get kind of this mix of Brett's thoughts, but also people's responses, which is really cool. So I want to throw a wild card question at you, because you mentioned you were a shiny card guy. I am as well. I have more of a player collection, but I've always been a shiny card guy. I think we all agree that the sort of evolution that has happened since 2014 Topps Chrome Wrestling has been just insane through 2015 Chrome, 2020 and 21, and then into Prism and Select for Panini. But I want to go back to the original, which when I've had some conversations about this with Drake and with you and with others across the years. However, that set is very limited. There's only a few people that are left in wrestling that are still that have the golds and the cards in that set. The autograph checklist was even more limited. But if you could go back and add one superstar that was active in the 2014, 2015 area and put them in that set, what would be your primary sort of target individual to add, given that the checklist was kind of tight back then, given what we know about 2014 Chrome?
Okay. Wow. This is a good question. In their active or legends or legends?
Yeah, active or legends. Yeah. So somebody that was in WWE's circular atmosphere in that time frame that wasn't in the set.
Man, this is like the ultimate on the spot question.
Yeah, that's the whole point of these, man.
It is. I lock down sometimes when I get completely overwhelmed by something like this. But you know what? I will say this, and this is probably like not what you'd expect from me, but I just think from like a legacy perspective, I think this would be ultimately really good for wrestling cards. I think if I was looking at 2014 Topps Chrome, one that I would add to the mix, just because I think it would make that set even more significant, would be Hogan. I think like a 2014 gold Hogan, iconic pose. Like, I think just adding another heavy hitter into the mix would be good. So although I'm not like the biggest Hogan fan, I think Hogan would be probably my answer.
Yeah, and it's crazy because if you look back on that set, I think they have The Rock, they have CM Punk, they have Cody Rhodes, there's and Brock Lesnar, anybody, Undertaker, that are so many different people, but there's no Hogan, there's no Austin. Like there's some significant names that are missing back then. And I love that set. I love that design. And I know you do too. You've collected such a wide range of those cards, and that's why I wanted to ask you. Hogan, I think, is a great answer, especially because we haven't seen a Rock Superfractor yet. But the Hogan and the Rock Superfractor together in the same set may be the biggest combo of big cards that could ever come out of a single product like that. So I agree with you there, man. It's a good. I'm sorry for putting you on the spot, but that was the whole point, is to like make you struggle a little bit here. I want a genuine answer.
Yeah, no, and I think one, just because I want to. So I want to do a public service announcement because I would love to see this card because it's so relevant at this point. But in March, I just pulled it up in Card Ladder. March 27th of 2015, this card sold for $91, and it is the 2014 Topps Chrome Cody Rhodes Superfractor 1/1 for $91. I've never seen that card, but know it exists somewhere.
Wow.
And how cool would it be to see that card now?
That's crazy.
I've been dying to see it. So if you're out there and you're listening and you have it or know where it's at, like, let us see it. I want to see a picture.
Have you seen the CM Punk Superfractor yet? I haven't seen that one either.
I haven't seen the CM Punk, but you guys, yeah. Also, too, I'm very regretful that I've sold my PSA 10 and PSA 9 CM Punk gold refractors at this point. I kind of wish I was hanging on to them because probably could increase my Roman Reigns collection quite a bit now.
Right, exactly. Well, I think it's interesting because we've seen the Undertaker Superfractor sell recently since the boom has happened. We've seen a couple of other big cards from that set go out, but man, the biggest ones that could potentially be there, we still haven't seen for many years. So I don't know. There was only 250 of those cases produced, so it's like there can't be many boxes left. But man, what a set! And I'm glad to. I always love hearing you talk about these shiny cards that you've really gravitated towards because you were kind of ahead of the curve there. So I mean, you were really sort of picking those up. I know Drake picked a bunch of them up. Jamison's picked a bunch of them up. Like all of those, sort of first Chrome type examples, right? Because that was really the first proper Topps Chrome set besides Heritage that was at the beginning of the mid 2000s. So you guys, I got to give you the props, man. You guys were way ahead of the curve there.
The lesson here is even when people aren't talking about it or there aren't record high sales, if you think cards are cool, go buy them and keep buying them, especially if they make you happy, because that's what that set has done. And then it's obviously helped me evolve into the collector I am today. So that set will always be near and dear to my heart.
Absolutely. And hopefully we get to see you again this summer at the main event sequel. I know last year we got to meet for the first time and that was great. So I really would encourage everybody to go and check out your podcast in the meantime. You can find it on Spotify and Apple and at Stacking Slabs on Instagram. I'll give you all of your selling here. So if there's anything else you want to plug, please, this is the time.
Nothing else to plug. Just appreciate all you do for the community, Adam. And thanks for letting me talk a little wrestling cards with you.
Yeah, it's always fun, man. And hopefully we'll talk again soon. I am here with Rich. I am so happy to have you on the show here. You've been on a couple of the videos for the channel. I know we've had Tony's had you on and Paul's had you on a few times.
Yep.
It's the first time that we've been able to be on together, but we were able to get together this summer in Chicago and meet up, part of the main event, which was so much fun. How is everything going for you, buddy? Where can they find you on social media and everything, just so that you can be found by the people watching here?
My social media, let's see, X is Velligan, Velligan. My Instagram is Japanese Wrestling Cards. And yeah.
Awesome.
I'm around if there's cards
You're
to talk
around.
about.
Yeah, especially from some of the wide-ranging topics that you're so knowledgeable about. Tell me, so 2023, really big year for wrestling cards. I know that there has been a ton of stuff that you've been able to get done this year. So if you had to look back and find kind of your one highlight of the year, either personally, hobby-wide, both, whatever you want, what would you pick out as your best sort of moment of 2023?
I mean, the best moment of 2023 obviously is finding this in Japan.
Oh, wow. That's pretty crazy.
Which led to 32 unopened of these,
oh my God.
which turned into 3 Hulk Hogans.
Jeez, wow, that's quite a bit.
It's a lottery win there. It's a 1 in a million find.
So tell the story of how you were able to find that.
Just doing research for the book. Basically, I had seen the picture of the box previous, so I knew what it was, what it contained. Ran across something going on auction. The description was really vague. Pictures were really vague, and I took a chance, and I ended up being a high bidder. It was under half of what my high bid was, and waited for about 3 weeks before I got the delivery. When it came in, it was, oh my goodness, what do I have here?
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
I can only imagine what that day was like, because I remember, like, if you order or have something delivered internationally, like once it leaves a certain spot, you're kind of just like crossing your fingers. So when it actually showed up at your door and it's not in like completely destroyed, I'm sure you were beyond excited.
Yeah, it was definitely a moment I'll never forget, and I have to thank my wife, because I was contemplating not opening them, and she's like, "Well, what happens if there's Hulk Hogan in there?" And I was like, but I could hold these for a while. And she's like, "But what happens if there's a Hulk Hogan in there?"
she finds the best in you to take care of your worst tendencies, I'm sure.
Definitely.
Because I remember, like, my kids are always prodding me when there's a box sitting on the table, like it cannot stay sealed, so they have to rip through everything immediately. I'm glad your wife is the same way.
Yeah, the rest of the wax that I have from Japan is still sealed for all these years, still sitting in boxes. Yeah,
I'm sure a lot of people would love to have that stash in their closet somewhere. Given how much those cards have increased in value over the last couple of years. I mean,
definitely.
I've seen you post a couple of times just on some of those cards that have sold, and I'm just floored by some of those prices.
Yeah, it's it goes back to the basics of collecting: supply and demand. The supply is definitely not what they print here. I mean, and a lot of times people hold on to that stuff when they're pulled over there. So to them coming out in the market and finding a card, like, it's jump now, or you may not see it for another 5 years.
Yeah, I remember talking. There's a guy who is part of one of the Facebook groups who lives over there. And he's so excited because he gets like direct access to a lot of these shops that carry all the product as soon as it comes in. And I've talked to shop owners here who have been like, I've been trying to get boxes shipped over, but they're all gone. Like by the time the release is announced, they're all sold to all the shops in Japan and everything.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you were able to get that. So if you had to look forward now into 2024 and you are sort of handicapping some of the collecting goals that you have, what are the things that you want to accomplish next year? What are you looking forward to most?
On a personal level, just continuing to work on the next edition of the book. Probably up to maybe 30 more sets that I've discovered since the printing of the first book.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. They pop up every day. There's something new always.
Mm-hmm.
Whether the only issue is there's no full detail. I find 4 or 5 cards and it's like, oh, it's a 12 card set. Where are the other 8 cards? Well,
right, exactly.
So it's like, okay, well, I know they exist, so it's now trying to piece it all together. And then just for the hobby, just to see growth for everybody, collecting wise. Collect who you want, what you want. I'd like to see more people get into Japanese cards. I enjoy helping find cards for people. I enjoy talking about it with people. Just making it more hobby mainstream.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that at all.
Yeah, it's funny because there's a lot of the early days of some of the more popular wrestlers. They have cards there that a lot of people don't know about, and so it's nice to start getting that trickle in of people finding them and saying, "Oh, I didn't know he had cards back then." Well, let's learn. Everybody can learn from it.
Yeah, for sure. So I've been asking a wild card question to everybody, and I was going to ask one to you, but now I want to go a little bit deeper into this. If there was kind of that one Japanese card of a current star that everybody really hasn't sort of discovered, but you are really high on. What is that card? Like, tell me what would be that card, your go-to? I'm sure Asuka has a bunch of them. I'm sure you can go through any number of the Japanese stars that are currently on TV, but give me sort of the deep cut that nobody really knows about, but you've been really high on for a while here.
For male wrestlers, Jay White, with him being in AEW now, he's only had a few releases in Japan, and so those cards they're starting to dry up. You don't see as many listed online, and that supply, when it runs out, that's it. It's not mass produced again. So once those cards are gone, you're going to be hurting to find them.
Right, exactly.
Same with Will Ospreay coming over in AEW in a few weeks here. His stuff from 2016, I started out, I maybe had 40 or 50 of his rookie cards. I'm down to like 2.
Wow.
Yeah, people just really, really want his stuff, and that's the earliest card printed packet, put in packs. So again, that's another one you can see climbing up big time. And then on the female side, with all the rumors of Julia possibly coming and signing with WWE, her stuff already is impossible to find rookie wise. Those cards are going to explode, and people are going to make hundreds and thousands of dollars if she
I'm not gonna lie.
sign.
I actually, when I started reading that she was invited to the Performance Center, she was supposed to come down and do it. It didn't end up happening for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But I was reading about that. I went and looked online just to see what her BBM cards were going for. I was just like, oh, what? This is insane. So she's in Stardom. I mean, she's basically the Hulk Hogan of Stardom at this point. And so
she's the queen. She made the jump from Ice Ribbon over to Stardom, and her cards jumped big time there because she went to a bigger name promotion. And now with all those rumors starting, they're just so hot right now to try to find them. It's unbelievable.
And I think one of the big draws of BBM cards is all of the inscriptions and stuff and all the crazy things that they put on those cards. So some of them, especially like the different insert sets, are really super unique. So, even finding one, you may not even find the best one because there could be like 10 or so others that have crazier things written on the cards. And
yeah, if you see one card, don't pass it up, because chances are you may not see another one for months, and at probably double the price. They're crazy right now.
Awesome, man. Well, I wish you the best in 24. I think hopefully we see you again this summer.
Main event in Cleveland, definitely.
That's right. Yeah. So I'm sure we'll have an opportunity to connect there. Still, maybe we'll have some updates on the book. Tell everybody where they can find your book and how they can get a copy of the first version of it.
Book's available if you direct DM me on X or on Instagram. And then also I have it linked up on eBay if anybody's wanting to go that route. But yeah, it's still available while I still have a few copies left. Not
awesome, man. Awesome, man. Well, good luck. It's great to talk to you. Thanks for coming on. We'll catch up here soon.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
What's up, everyone? I have got Ben Johnson here. Excited to have him back on again. He's been on a few of our videos, and I wanted to have him on here as well as part of our community highlights. How's it going, Ben? How's the year finishing out for you?
It's extremely busy. I'm working all day and night most days.
And you are one of the more prolific sellers on eBay. I know a lot of people have probably run across your auctions under 825. Glad to have you on. If you had to look back on 2023, and this is really the question that has led off all of these conversations I've had with people over the last couple of days, what would be your moment of the year, either personally, hobby-wise, or wrestling cards? What do you, if you had to pick out one thing, what would that be for you?
Oh, that's a tough one. Let's see, 2023. Oh, Man, I'm not even sure. I would venture to say trading. I had a really big trade involved some wrestling cards, and I procured a very large collection. A lot of nice graded stuff. Working on listing it now. Overall, I mean, the hobby is starting to even out a little bit, but we've had its ups and downs. Panini put out some really good products, I thought, even though I hate them as a company. I am looking forward to the Topps come back for wrestling cards. I guess if I had to name a moment, and now that you caught me off guard, I would say it was Fanatics getting the WWE license back. That's the big aha moment of the year.
Yeah, and so you're talking about when we had a couple of conversations, I think, via text message. There's a couple of conversations we've talked about just in general regarding sort of the landscape of wrestling cards. And I agree, like this lawsuit and the resolution, I don't think we're ever going to find out necessarily what is going down, but I think the general consensus among the hobby, from what everybody has said, if Brian Gray has tweeted out a couple of times, made a couple of videos, I've talked to a few people, it seems like there's going to be some level of an early transition back to Fanatics. For somebody that has loved both sides of the equation, from you just said, like, hey, Panini's put out some great stuff, can't wait for Topps. Like, what are you expecting sort of to be the resolution as this comes through leading into next year? Is this something that you're excited about? What are some of the things that you're looking forward to as Topps takes back over?
I'm excited, but with tempered expectations. I think that Panini raised the bar a lot higher with wrestling cards. First off, I have to say the photography on the cards was over and above anything Topps has ever done. It was basically
for sure.
Every product was like Stadium Club or better, and Topps always put their best photography in Stadium Club. And so Topps has a lot of work to do, and hopefully that they actually care enough to look at what was done and at least mimic it somewhat, because it worked. It brought in a lot of new collectors. I am excited for one thing, and I hope they do it, and that's Transcendent.
Yes, of course. It's my favorite.
Yeah. I haven't paid as much attention in the last 6 months, but I haven't seen a Transcendent product come out for baseball or anything else in the last 6 or 8 months.
Haven't either, now that you mention it. It's kind of weird.
So it kind of scares me a little bit. They pummeled out a bunch of them right before Fanatics took over, but I can't think of one come out since then. So on that side, I'm not sure, but I hope they do. I don't believe it's a huge profit maker for them, because it's a very low print run, 50 or 100 total boxes. So it doesn't make financial sense for them to do it. But from a hobby standpoint, it's a great product.
I Transcendent far and away is one of my favorite products of all time. I still have a number of the Transcendent cards on my shelf. They are just absolutely gorgeous, all on card, especially the Superfractors. I think were far and away one of the best wrestling cards ever made. And I know you've always been a huge fan of them. You've been to the parties together and all these other things. And I'm with you. I really hope they bring it back. I really actually want to see sets like Inception. I want to see sets like kind of what they've been doing with Museum Collection or whatever, like those types of things. Now that and Dynasty, obviously, I've mentioned that on a few videos. Like, I think now that they have kind of the roadmap to success from Panini and what they did with Immaculate and all the relics that they've had, like, man, these sets are now possible. I hope they bring them. I hope they come with the guns blazing, if you will.
That's an interesting point. For them to do Dynasty or Inception, both of those products are patch based, not multicolor relic, but they're thick, chunky patch based. They would have to procure some very interesting relics and a lot of them to pull that off, because I think it would dilute the Dynasty name if they just put a multicolored shirt in there per se.
I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, like, we saw what happened with Immaculate. Those cards are absolutely gorgeous. Those giant sort of relic cards. I think just because WWE has such colorful shirts, it's not like I just don't think like you said, I just don't think there's enough patches out there. Like, even if they were to get ring gear or boots or something, I still don't think it's multicolored enough for people to really care outside of these shirts. So maybe they find ways to, like you said, find some unique relics, maybe a Charlotte Flair robe or piece of a Money in the Bank briefcase or something. Who knows?
Yeah, I think they tried that with the last fully loaded release. If you remember, they had the
ladder pieces,
relics,
yeah.
They had trash can relics, they had mic box relics, and I think those mic boxes are still really popular. I mean, they were hard to get, but I mean, last
really
I checked, the Miz was like $200 or $300. So I don't know if they would do it under a Dynasty name. They did F1 Dynasty, but even those had chunky patches in them.
They're like zippers and stuff from the fire suits, yeah.
But they've got to do a high-end product, period. What is it? I don't know.
I mean, they probably would bring back something like Undisputed. They would probably bring back they probably introduce some new stuff. Obviously, Chrome and Finest, I think, come back. But I think, I mean, like, listen, if we get, let's say that we get the rest of Panini's 2023 calendar, get another version of Immaculate, it's like the dump product for everything, right? And so they're putting in all the extra relics and stuff like that they have stashed away because they're losing the license. Then I think Topps has to really come in and show everybody that they can sort of live up to those situations. And I'm excited to see what both. I mean, like, I don't really care. Like, I want you. As long as they're producing something out there, I don't really care. But man, I think it's a really cool conversation to have. So as you sort of look forward to 2024. Both as a seller and a buyer, like, what are your goals for the hobby next year? Like, what are you setting as your collecting goals as you go forward in 24?
I am hoping and praying that the price point stays remotely reasonable so I could go back to ripping 10 to 20 cases of product. It was that 2 years ago, and then it got super inflated with Prism. It's starting to come back down to earth. I don't know how that's going to transfer to the new license because Fanatics will charge kind of what they want. And as we've seen with Bowman, I mean, just for example, Bowman Draft is for a super jumbo, $750 a box, $450 or $500 for a jumbo box. I mean, that stuff 4 years ago was like $150.
Right.
If they come back with the Topps Chrome Wrestling and it's $199 out the gate, like, it's gonna make some people mad. It's never been.
I don't think you can avoid it, man. Like, I think that those are that's the world we live in now, and like,
maybe
it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that we're not going back to the $60 boxes of Chrome that you and I ripped to oblivion.
It doesn't have to be 60, but I mean, 100, 125, I think is a fair price.
Yeah, that would be awesome if they can get it down to there. So here's my wild card question for you, because you brought up Transcendent, and we saw in the last year of Transcendent they had that quad autograph for the 4 Horsewomen. If you could recreate that card but put any living individuals on it instead of the 4 Horsemen, what would be?
I already got you.
Okay, let's hear it, man. Let's hear it.
It's got a quad auto, right? I think I've already told you my dream quad auto. Vince McMahon, Linda McMahon, Shane McMahon, Stephanie McMahon.
Ah, there we go. the WrestleMania 2000 special.
The 4 pillars of WWE.
Yes, exactly. That would be an awesome card. And I don't think Vince is ever going to sign another card again. He's sort of been excommunicated in spirit from WWE just with the Endeavor takeover. So, I mean, I don't know if he ever signs another wrestling card, but man, I still, like, so many people have tried to get into these Vince autos now because he's getting older. He's kind of like on his way out for WWE, but to get the entire McMahon family on one card would be absolutely nuts.
That's the coup, and I don't believe you'd ever get Linda on a card. To
No,
the best of my knowledge, I don't believe that she's ever had a certified auto. I might be wrong,
I don't
but
think so. Yeah.
I don't remember ever seeing one. But man, how cool would that be? I mean, that's
Yeah, man, that would be really cool. I think like even to get Triple H on there, if we can't get Linda, I think that works too. Just the McMahon family dynasty would be great. I don't think like Stephanie's not even with the company anymore. So, but she is married to the really high
yeah.
ranking. So like she's around, but I think
I could
just
already see the immaculate quad auto would be that WrestleMania 2000, the Four Corners match where all
Yeah.
McMahon had their one respective wrestler wrestling for them. That was yeah,
that was one of the first WrestleManias. I think I actually like sat down with all of my college friends and watched. My freshman year of college was 2001, and coming into like that year, we were all a group of friends that all went to college together, and that was one of the first WrestleManias. I think I got all of them in a room to watch, and it was just really funny to see their reactions as
Oh, yeah.
all the McMahons trotted out their wrestlers.
It was coming off a hot time. I mean, in '99, you had like, I think it was SummerSlam. '99 was Austin and
That was what I was at. That's in Minneapolis. That's
yeah, Jesse
Austin,
the Body
Mankind,
was
and Triple H. Yeah.
yeah, Jesse the Body that was like his last appearance, I think.
Yep.
And there was Royal Rumble.
I was
2000.
there. I was there, man.
Missed those days, but we're treated to some good wrestling now. I can't complain. That Seth Rollins CM Punk was
Man, that was cool.
yeah, that we're set up.
I
for
mean,
the-
you never expected to see it, right? And that was always the draw. It's like they have been sparring back and forth for the better part of 10 years, and like seeing them in a ring face to face as something I never thought would happen. I mean, he's wearing the shirt that said "Hell froze over." I think that's
Yes.
pretty accurate.
The fact that Seth mildly kept it cool, at some point in time during this feud, he's going to absolutely lose it. And
Look at what happened with him and Riddle. Yeah, exactly.
Seth Rollins may have his own pipe bomb. I would not be surprised to see him sit on the stage with a mic in his hand and deliver something that just unravels everything.
That's awesome.
But
I would be there for that. I would be there for that for sure. All right, man. It was great talking to you and catching up. Tell them where they can find you on eBay and on social media, and we'll wish you a wonderful and good luck in 2024. So, where can they find you here?
on eBay, my username is 825, just 3 numbers. I don't really do social media for cards. It's more for personal stuff, but maybe my Twitter. I think it's BLEGIT07. I should be in that new wrestling collector card set. So
Love
maybe
it.
I'll put some stuff on there for that. But I'll have
with your championship in tow.
I will have $100 bounty on my metal card if anybody pulls it and sees this video.
He's put it out here first.
Come collect your $100. I will pay $100 for up to all 3 of them. So
nice.
Thank you so much for having me on, as always.
Yeah, man, excited. I hope we get to have more conversations. I love hearing your perspective. So thanks for hopping on.
Appreciate it, Adam.
Have a good one.